Hey guys, Steven Martinez with The American Dream. I just want to say a big thanks to all our supporters and fans. It's because of you guys that we're able to keep growing. Having said that, please don't forget to follow and subscribe. It means a lot to us. That's what helps us keep growing. And also, I hope you guys enjoy the next episode. What's up guys? Welcome to The American Dream podcast. It's your host, Steven Martinez. I'm here with Paul Martindale, owner and founder of MPC, Martindale Pinnacle Construction. Good friend of mine. Thanks for coming, bro.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Good to see you, man.
Yep.
So, I mean, we've been friends for what, like 3 years, maybe? Almost 3 years?
A little longer than that, probably.
So, you have an interesting story. I know you're coming to Houston to do some business. You opened up another office here in Houston a while ago, and you're doing really well with what you do on the construction side. But, you know, for anyone listening or anyone that doesn't know who you are, you know, what do you do? How did you get into the space? A little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I grew up doing a lot of construction with my dad. I've personally installed over 1,000 roofs myself. Didn't start my own company until I turned 30. So I was 30 years old. I'd worked for a variety of different companies as the foreman. And then June 1st, 2012, I just made the leap, formed my own LLC, formed my company. Started out as just a one-man rock star show, as they say. And then eventually had more employees, office staff come on, sales reps, managers, stuff like that. Continue to scale over, I'm 11 and a half years in now. Started out as a general contractor, that's how I was formed. And started off just mainly doing a lot of work in Rock County, Wisconsin, and then branched off and then kind of servicing the entire state. And then I didn't really even get outside of Wisconsin until 2017, where I branched off into Iowa. And that ended up going into licensing in Illinois, I think was the next state I got licensed in, and then Minnesota, and then Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and now I just made the leap and set up an office here in Houston. One of my mentors, Steve Rosenberg, he lives here. He's got quite a network down here, and I just believe that it was a good deal for me to set up an office here and can kind of continue operations down here. So also it doesn't get cold like it does up
there. Yeah, it's cold up there. I remember when I came to visit you.
It's freezing cold up there. So I like to get out of the cold in the winter. It's right around Christmas time. It's time for me to pack it up. I do a lot of my vacationing anyways in the winter, so I just knew it'd be a good bet. I'm in the midst of closing on a house down here also. So just to set up an office here and can get some operations going down here, so either me and or my team can come down in the winter and work throughout the winter too. So yeah, basically I specialize in exterior renovations and storm restoration. The storms are getting worse and worse every year, bigger and bigger every year. There's definitely a need for companies like mine to come in after a storm hits, basically to help the local guys out. There's just not enough manpower by the local guys to handle all the storm damage in the area. So that's where we come in. We work with all the insurance companies very well. We also know how to supplement, write estimates correctly, scope properties correctly for damage, and then expedite repairs. So
absolutely. And I remember when I first met you, it's funny you mentioned how you get into the industry, and everyone has different stories on how they get into the industry. Mine was meeting Anthony at a bar at 1 a.m., right? So you know that crucial moment and pivotal moment of me going to school, me doing my MBA, and going out for my buddy's birthday, and then networking and realizing the opportunity that is on the table and taking advantage of that.
Right.
What do you think in terms of the success of your business that networking has to be in terms of how successful you are? Is networking important or is it not?
Yeah, networking is very key. You mentioned Anthony. I mean, I wasn't really going to too many conferences. I was really focused on just me and my local team and stuff like that. But networking, it's once you come to those conferences like Anthony had to win the storm. I've been going to that for 6-7 years now. Main way, the biggest thing I take from that is the networking. Yes, you can learn some valuable knowledge there on new products, new stuff like that, but the networking is priceless. I've made a lot of very key connections just going to that one event alone. I met you through Anthony. I've met Steve Rosenberg, Jason Berg, a lot of other guys that I respect in this industry at conferences and and networking events.
Absolutely.
So I believe it's very, very key. It's just about talking, having simple conversations with people, and usually you'll get a good vibe off them or not, and if they align with your vision. I use that term a lot. People have to align with your vision if you want to do business with them, or it just won't work out.
Absolutely. No, you mentioned some really good points there. I remember for our conference, I reached out to you because one of the things that really stood out to me was your story. I know you mentioned you were in prison, correct?
Yeah,
for how
correct.
long?
I was in prison for 7.5 years straight. That was the last time when I was in my early years, early 20s, getting into a lot of trouble. I'd went to jail, did some little bits here and there, some 30 days, I think the one I did 8-month stint. I'd been spared numerous times. Family was trying to talk to me about changing my ways. I just wouldn't listen, thought I knew everything back then. Wouldn't take their guidance, wouldn't take other family or other friends' guidance either. They saw the path I was going down. And so it took that one really big hit. I was drug dealing, gang banging, doing a lot of ruthless stuff. And it took that one big hit, 7.5 years. I went to prison for basically all my 20s to really change my thinking. Boot camp is a big, really helped me.
You went to boot camp?
Yeah, I went to boot camp. That was like the last 6.5 months of my bit I got to go there, and that's what got me out of prison 2.5 years early was going to boot camp and going through that program. But they just teach you a lot of like ways to counter your old bad thinking, your impulses. I had a lot of crazy impulses when I was younger. It just shows you how to counter those thoughts with correct thoughts and just not go back to the old ways of thinking and actions you were doing.
Absolutely. One of the things that it's actually a recent quote that I learned from Alexander the Great. He was a conqueror, right? And he was really young. And one of his famous quotes is, "I conquered the world, but I never conquered myself." And the other day I was kind of just researching, and funny enough, you mentioned people making mistakes. Some of the biggest mistakes and accidents led to some of the biggest discoveries, like penicillin, radioactivity, the microwave. And I think as a person, if which is something that I kind of relate to in terms of, because I'm not perfect either. I've made my mistakes, right? But I also have now the knowledge of where I have mentors that help me with my mental health, emotional, spiritual, physical, business advice. If I ever need a call, and I could call you in regards to business, right? So I have people in my support system that help me take myself to that next level.
Right.
Do you have that support system? And when you were in that moment, how did you, because prison's hard, bro.
Very hard.
Were you going through a depression? Were you how did you get that mindset that really transformed something from how'd you pretty much make something good out of something bad? That's really what I want to know.
Yeah, so, it was a rough time for sure in my life. Went through a lot of stuff in there. I was in 3 different maximum security prisons. I was in Supermax. Supermax really wears on you. You're just basically in a 5x10 cell, for 24/7. The only way you're getting out is to go out to an outside rec. Maybe I think twice a week you get to go out there for an hour, and then maybe go to the library to research your case. That's the only time you're getting out of that cell. The showers in your cell, you get 3 showers a week. Very, very rough time. I've seen a lot of guys, gangsters, literally lose their mind in there, especially when they go to Supermax. So it takes just a lot of supreme mind power to get through that. Read your book a week. They give you 1 book a week. I was on the Dre Duran show a few days ago. We were talking about that, and I would literally just divide the number of pages by 7, so the book would last me all week.
Wow.
So they only give you 1 book a week to read in there, and it would last a week because I just divide the pages by 7. And all there is to do is just to read, write letters, and work out in that little cell. So, there's I use that as motivation every single day. I never stop. So a lot of guys ask me, sometimes I see some owners where they'll do well first couple of years and they just expect everything just to keep raining in on them, and that's just not true. You got to go out and get it. Every day I wake up, I'm just relentless. I refuse to lose. I always find a way to win. And I kind of act like, I know there's this saying, you act like you're broke every day, no matter how much money you have. That's just how I think. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to find a way to beat whatever's came up today. And I get hit with a lot of stuff even every single day. You just got to find a solution to it. So a lot of people I see online or whatever, they're spending too much time dwelling on the negativity and then broadcasting on social media instead of when they could have already found a solution to it. So that's what I always recommend. Find a solution. There's always a way to beat the obstacle in front of you. You just got to find a way.
Absolutely. And I love how it's kind of like an underdog story. People weren't necessarily rooting for you, right? Because you're at a low point in your life. And then you went from pretty much being in prison to running a $20 million company, which is really impressive, by the way. So having said that, that jump from being there and then your first year switching into the construction, was that easy or did you get it? How did you get that business mindset to where you knew how to scale and operate your business successfully? Because a lot of people in the construction space, man, they'll be in business for 3-4 years and then they just get out of it.
Yeah.
You've been consistent. How'd you manage to do that?
Yeah, so I read a book. It's called The Infinite Game. There's a lot of people, yes, they play to scale their company as much as they can for 5 years and sell out. I play the infinite game where I scale my company to, yes, I want to continue to scale and make money and be profitable, but I want to be able to hand it down from generation to generation. So I'm playing the infinite game with my company. I'm not playing to sell out. When I first started, I've learned a lot in business. I didn't know just a lot to do with taxes, but it's been a learning experience in over 11 years. I've definitely learned a lot. Just with keeping your books in order, that's very key. Your finances in order. Just making sure that you're not spending too outrageously and spending money that really isn't yours, as they say. A lot of times when you do storm restoration, you're waiting sometimes 30, 60 days to actually get final payment on a project. So you're basically floating a lot of projects with materials and labor. You're waiting on those final checks. So a lot of guys I see sometimes just get strung out too far. They want to be too big, too quick. They go out, buy a bunch of trucks, try to be like the next biggest guy that's been around for 20 years. And a lot of times I've seen that's ruined other owners. So I've scaled slowly but surely. And I'm still really, really firmly invested in my company. I just don't hire a manager just to take over everything and I sit on the golf course all day.
Yeah.
Which is fine, I guess, if you have guys you can trust to really run your company the right way. But me personally, I love construction and I'm still very firmly invested in my company every day.
So in terms of a business owner, I have, for example, I have plenty of friends that, they've been to prison or, they got their college degree or their MBA, or maybe they've kind of been handed it down to them as a kid or something from their family or whatnot. But do you think that in terms of that mindset, a successful entrepreneur needs to have that unequivalent mindset of, being hungry, being driven? Where do you get that from?
I've always, since a young age, just wanted to be the best at something. This is how I went to a private school until my junior year. I had pretty good teachers, but it's just I don't know if it was ingrained in me by my dad or what it was. But I've just always had the mentality where if I'm doing something, I want to be the best at it. It's just how I am. So I never get complacent. That's another thing I see is there's a lot of complacency. A lot of people wanting handouts. I don't want anybody's handouts. I'm going to go and get it every single day. So. And
for that guy or that kid, that young entrepreneur that's young, I'm not going to lie. I think you're right. Our generation, we're very complacent. We get lazy. We're on our phones all the time, on Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. And, making money really isn't rocket science. Anyone can make money. It's just about applying yourself to whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you said, your dad used to tell you to be the best. My dad used to tell me the exact same thing. He would say, if you're going to rob a bank, you better rob the biggest bank in the U.S. If you're going to, sell narcotics, you better be the next Pablo Escobar. That metaphor in terms of if you're going to do something, stick with it and be the best at it.
Right.
And, that mindset, I think, is lacking now, especially in our generation. If someone was listening who's young, what would you tell them in terms of really giving them advice to hone it down so they can become successful? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say, success usually doesn't happen overnight, I guess, unless you win the lottery or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work, day in, day out. Yes, I'm a very firm believer in doing a job that you like. I'm a very firm believer in that. If you don't like even what you're doing, you're probably, you're going to want to jump ship and go on to the next thing if something comes your way, another opportunity arises. So I always say, hey, maybe it takes a few tries to figure out what you like doing, but once you do, and you find that that's your niche, then go all in with it and just day in, day out, wake up like, man, I want to be the best at this. I'm going to work hard. Whether you're actually working for someone or you actually go out on your own and start your own company, it is a lot of hard work, especially in the first few years as you're first starting your company. You're going to get hit with a lot of things, and you're going to have to find a way to overcome that. So just don't give up. That's very key. I remember that first year in business, I almost gave up over that first winter I went through. I almost went bankrupt. I was seeing my bank account just dwindling. There's really not too much you can do in the winter up north. So I had some money saved up, but that money just dwindled in the winter. and I was about to just maybe dissolve my company and go back to being the foreman of another company. And luckily, I didn't do that. I stuck it out. And the first big job I did the following year was a church, and then it just kind of steamrolled after that. So,
yeah. One of the things that I like about your story and who you are as a person, I know I've known you for time, and your mindset and all that, is just the way you're driven in your routines. You have a really strict routine. How's your day to day? Tell the viewers, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it varies. Like spring through fall, I try to get up in the mornings and hit the gym. That kind of varies depending on my schedule. Sometimes I need to, if it's a new storm, I like to get out, train my new sales guys. I like to do quality control with my crews even. So sometimes I can't work out in the morning, but I like to work out in the morning, get that out of the way. I've been even actually trying to get into the office more than I used to. I hate being in the office, but I'm seeing that I need to be in there more. So I try to be in the office at least Mondays and Fridays now. And then maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, be out in the field is what is my schedule now. In the winter, I have more time to work out, but I love working out. I believe that for me, that's the number one thing that gets rid of stress and gets rid of my anger and negativity, is just getting a good workout in the gym and release those endorphins.
How important is it to be hands-on with like a company? Like, it's funny you say that. So there's different types of businesses, but at the same time, I think companies and businesses have the same systems. Like everyone has, their sales, their marketing, their production, their quality control, their HR, their admin. In terms of the back end stuff, obviously sales, not speaking more of a business perspective, sales is important because it's revenue for the company. But how important is it for the owner to be hands-on with, the admin stuff in terms of the back end processes?
At the end of the day, I mean, the owner still needs to make it clear, what he expects, I used to, with training the office staff, I would just say, hey, which actually I believe isn't wrong. I have a training platform you can use, and watch the videos, and here's what needs to happen. But I still, not even just the sales team or labor crews, I still have seen that I still need to have sit downs with even the office staff and just kind of really break it down of what I expect from them and what their job titles entails,
So enabling like key responsibilities, duties, having everything separated, so your sales guy's not doing 5 positions at once. You nailed it down to where everything's more specific and structured for the company, essentially.
Right, exactly.
And then in terms of, I know you mentioned previously, going all in. What if that, there's a saying, what's that saying goes, don't put your eggs in one basket. Would you say that's something feasible, or would you recommend that? Like I think you should go all in. That's my my way of thinking. That's why I was able to create what I've created. But would you say the same, or would you say, don't go all in, maybe have a plan B or a plan C? Did you have a plan B or plan C when you were starting up?
I mean, I knew that I could have, if something were to ever blow up in my face and I wasn't getting the sales initially, or I knew I could fall back on going right back to work for, there are numerous companies that would have hired me just because I'm very good at roofing, so I knew I could fall back on that. But it was sink or swim. Like, it was a time where I did like that fallback. When I first formed my company, it wasn't just I was like all in with my company. It was I was still the foreman of another company.
Oh, really?
And so I basically worked out a deal with them that said, if I sold my own jobs, could I still come in and like be the foreman of his crew to do the work on those jobs? And that's kind of like the agreement we had. And then that worked. That kind of worked out for about a month. And I bought a truck, and then I put some magnets on it with my company decals. Well, I was going to his sites with those magnets on, and that just really didn't fly for too long. It was, man, this isn't your site, this is my site. Yeah. And so that didn't fly, and pretty soon he just said, hey, we can't have you work here anymore. And right then after that, it was basically a sink or swim. And then I wasn't even into storm restoration. It was all retail, strictly retail I was doing at that point. So how I got all 30 of my projects in 2012 when I started my company was just driving around Rock County, and looking at roofs, and if I noticed that you had an old roof or missing shingles, stuff like that, I would just cold call you and ask you if you needed a free estimate. Most people they'll accept a free estimate. So I'd measure the roof out on site, I'd give them a free estimate. A lot of people just go with me because of that. They saw I was a new company, they saw that I was very knowledgeable on roofing systems and just everything that went into it, and they would just to choose me to do the work. So
for someone that, obviously there's hiccups for any business the first year, but for someone that starts and they're interested in coming into the construction space and they want to know, what to expect, how do I create something not knowing what I'm really getting into, what do you recommend for them in terms of them starting their first construction company their first year?
Yeah, I usually would recommend definitely having like a one office person. When you first start, I don't think you even need more than one. Just one person in the office. They do like your printing off, just like all your. Even to this day, I like to have 2 different sets of files. One digital and one hard copy. I still use hard copy files to this day. So I've seen too many things with things online getting frozen or just not being able to use it. So I still like to have that hard copy file also. So. You could have the office staff just simply printing off like all your invoices, making phone calls for you, hopefully train them on estimating, invoicing, AR, AP, stuff like that. That's what they could be doing, that one person initially, until you start to get bigger, and then you need to hire more people to have them specifically do those roles. But usually when you first start, you probably just need one person in the office to do that. That would take a lot of the load off the owner doing all that stuff, so he can focus more on basically going out, training the sales team, making sure the labor crews that he's using until he builds like a rapport with them and can start to build trust, making sure that they're just doing adhering to your standards basically. So the main thing the owner I think should be involved in year one would be getting a sales team set up, making sure that they're following his standards, then the labor crew too, and the office staff can work more, train them, one person, to deal more with the back end stuff, the printing off, getting the files in order, AR, AP, stuff like that. And
in terms of marketing, I remember when I came to visit you during that hailstorm in Minnesota and Wisconsin, we were there.
That was a good one.
I think you probably might have one of the best brandings in terms of attention. Let's put it that way. The trucks, the logos, it's all very eye-catching.
That's what everybody says. So.
What do you think is the importance too of that? And I get it too, but for someone listening, maybe they have the concept down, but like at the end of the day, if you have a restaurant and you have the best food but no one knows about it, you're not going to really do well. So marketing is everything. Explain marketing in your space, in your industry, and how well you are at doing it, because clearly you're very well known for that. Stands out, the pyramids, all that. What's behind that?
Yeah, so it's crazy. It's just how it came with the acronym MPC. When I first formed my company, it was originally just supposed to be Pinnacle Construction. Well, when I formed my LLC through LegalZoom, they notified me that name was already taken. So I basically just added my last name in front of the Pinnacle, and so it was Martindale Pinnacle Construction. So initially, all my trucks would have that whole it's a long name, Martindale Pinnacle. So it's like, I think it was like year 3 or 4 is when I switched to the acronym on all my vehicles. And it really kicked off. It's a lot shorter, but it does stand out. You just got the 3 big letters. I'm a very big believer too. I was taught when I was coming up that you should have a solid logo. That's what people are going to remember you for. It's just very recognizable. So the reason I chose the pyramid was what's the longest standing structure still left on Earth is the pyramid. So basically the analogy is we build stuff that lasts. There's a lot of contractors that I see that just don't really take too much pride in their workmanship, their quality materials, stuff like that. I'm very focused on my team, sales reps and all that, pushing best materials, best warranties, best quality workmanship. So that's why I got accredited with GAF. We're Master Elite with them. We push the Golden Pledge warranty on every project that we're on. So it's just another way to help the customer out. So, but yes, back to your point, I'm very big on having a slogan, a vision statement, a good name, and then a good the pyramid.
No, I've seen it. I remember when we were driving around, people were like, we've seen you around, and stuff like that really matters when it comes to attention, because that's marketing. What grabs your attention to a product or service is the way you market it, and clearly you do that right. So in regards to what you're doing with the company, the branding, and the space that you're in, how competitive would you say the construction space is? Is it a dog eat dog? Is it
very competitive? Especially in storm restoration. It's if you're doing storm restoration, once again, I've been doing it for a long time now, so I know what to expect, but there's some pretty ruthless areas you can work. I mean, DFW, Twin Cities, Minnesota, I've worked plenty of storms up there. There's just so many contractors that are in that space, and a lot of them are there's not a lot of integrity either, so it's called knocking signs. You'll have signs dropped, and there's still other companies coming back around behind you and knocking your sign and trying to deter the homeowner from canceling with you and going with them, making up lies, slandering you. Just a lot of stuff goes into it. So once you've built a brand, a good name, though, usually most people, if they do their due diligence, look you up online, they're going to figure out that company was lying and just trying to get the job stolen from you. But yeah, it's a ruthless business. I'm really focused now, kind of refocusing on branding and just in the main areas that I'm in, where I have my offices at. So I think that's really key. Is to get your name out in the community, sponsor local people, sponsor events, stuff like that, and just try to definitely not just do Storm, but build your retail side of it too.
Absolutely. I think being involved with the community is important too, to resonate with the audience that you want to target for your product or service. They see you as a local brand, as a homeowner, as a small business, and they want to support that. But also, having said that, I've noticed that, especially this space, it's a dog eat dog world.
Very.
And I think for any business, really, because you're not a bad person, you're a really nice guy, but at the same time, you have to have a balance as an entrepreneur to, be nice, but then also be well respected to where you don't take shit from anyone, really.
People take advantage of you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, even now, just you made the reference of the younger generation. I think it goes in all the generations, where there's a lot of people that they just want free handouts. If they can see a chink in your armor, they're waiting to slice you stab you in the back. And so I do a lot for my team, a lot for my people, and even with all that, I still got guys that are just looking for the grass is greener and getting deterred by other guys. There's a lot of guys that are, I guess, poaching sales reps in this business. They're just always trying to slide in on their DMs and say, hey, we got better compensation for you, and blah, blah, blah. The next thing you know, those guys will leave, then they'll come call me back and want me to come back. So I've seen a lot of things in over 11 years. But yes, it's a pretty ruthless business.
Yeah, so. I think that saying, the grass is always greener where you water it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't just do something and expect, A or B to be better than that. It's really where you devote and put your energy into it. I remember, I think I told you the story, when I was, a young entrepreneur, you're in a sense a little bit vulnerable, right? Because you don't know much. And I won't say his name, just to not name him, but pretty much I gave him my service that I was doing, which is like a whole consulting thing, right? To help him structure everything from a marketing perspective. Yeah. Gave me a check after I provided that service, and that shit bounced back. Yeah, and then I was like, man, that was I texted him, I called him, completely ignored me, aired me, and I did my time and energy to provide something well for him, right? Yeah. And that's when I really realized, like, shit, man, people can take advantage of you. It doesn't even have to be in that. Exactly. So have you ever had, a story, or how did you realize that, in terms of business, you really have to be realistic in terms of who you bring into the field? Have you ever had a experience like that?
Yeah, you gotta just definitely do your research on the people that you want to do business with, and even sometimes, no matter how much research you do or how much recommendations the person has, they're still gonna rip you off or try to. I've had some issues with just had one where it was, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, where I'd hired a guy to do some recruiting for me out in Iowa. He promised he was the best, and which everybody does. They're always the best in their field. So I said, hey, he came recommended. I met him at a conference. Didn't spend a lot of money with him, but he promised me he'd give me 2 really rock star, new sales guys in Iowa, which is where we were doing a ton of work. I needed more manpower out there. So I paid him some money, and he didn't live up to his thing. He just stopped answering phone calls, texts, stuff like that. So I kind of had to blast him on social media and just warn other guys not to use them. But it happens, no matter who you are, it's going to happen to you. Yeah. You just got to find a way to not dwell on it and go out and make more and focus on you and what you can handle. So,
absolutely. No, it's definitely lessons in terms of
one big thing that I would recommend is whether it's call centers, recruiters, marketers, whoever you're doing business with, I would start off always probably like a low dollar amount with them, and just to kind of like as a test, a trial run, beta test with them, and see if they really live up to what they say they're all about. If it goes well, then maybe pump some more money and do bigger things with them. But I'm always a big believer in just starting small. If you don't know the person, especially, just do a small amount with them, see if they produce for you. Yeah. If it goes well, then go higher.
And so. I think too, you kind of just made me realize something. You know that saying, like, one bad apple ruins the bunch? I think in terms of small businesses, that one bad experience from a small business owner who, let's say, uses a marketing service from another small business owner and their experience is horrendous. Yeah. They'll end up switching over to, let's say, a more quote unquote corporate company, and then it ends up killing the whole small business field of it where, someone who owns a legit business and they're actually trying to provide a good quality service and product can actually not even end up getting any more clients because people ruin it for them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can't let just one person or one company's actions deter you from ever using that kind of a, vendor again, I guess. Everybody's different. Everybody has, some guys are good, some guys are bad in every industry. So I always recommend don't take one person's actions and let it ruin it for everybody. Still do your research and still do business with people. Once you feel them out, you've, been engaged with them for months, if not years, and you've never seen them, do something wrong or something like that, rip somebody off, then why not do business with them? So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you have, I guess, what's your 5-year plan from now? If people say, hey, Paul, what do you see yourself in 5 years? What's your goal?
5-year plan. I mean, the biggest goal right now I have is to be in all 50 states, MPC, in brick and mortar offices in all 50 states by 2030. That's the goal right now. So I'm in the midst of franchising. I had this same conversation with Jay Duran a few days ago where he asked me what was going on, and my company's being restructured right now as we speak. I'm going to be operating as a franchise. So I'm currently licensed and operating in 8 states. That took 11 years. It burns you out. It really does, going through employees, stuff like that. That's a whole other story in itself. So the only way to compete against these billion-dollar platforms that are getting rolled up by these equity companies is to basically franchise. So I still want to be in firm control of my company. I don't want to sell out to a bank. So the only way to do that is a franchise, and so that's what we're doing. I've got some very good people, mentors, coaches of mine that are helping me with this. They're going to be involved with it also. But yeah, that's the biggest goal, is to be in all 50 states, brick and mortar offices by 2030. So, yeah.
In terms of, I guess, the mentorship that you have, is that really crucial in that objective to really stand out and be in all 50 states?
Very, very crucial. I understand. I've came to understand. I mean, just because I'm a really hardcore go-getter, I don't stop. I'm relentless. Blah blah blah. Doesn't mean that other people that work for you are going to be that way. And so, one of the biggest things I started to learn was I need to have just really crack down on the systems, policies, procedures within my company. You got to have them, and you got to make sure that your staff is adhering to that, or that's when things go awry.
So let me ask you a question. So in terms of the business side, right? It seems like you're very well educated and you have a lot of experience. You know what you're doing pretty much, and you're one of the best at it. But now for someone that now they listen, they have an idea on how to perform and have a good structure in their business for whatever industry they want to do.
Yeah.
How important is it for a person internally to be, mentally clear, emotionally stable, physically fit, spiritually, involved with, God or anything like that for them? Do you think interpersonal is connected with the business as well?
I believe so. Yeah, you got to cancel out that negativity one way or another, whether it's through God, whether it's through working out, whether it's whatever it is. People have a lot of different things that they do things to step away from their business and keep their mind clear. It might be biking, mountain climbing, basketball, weightlifting. I mean, there's a whole host of things you could do to keep your mind clear. But yeah, there's a lot of negative arrows. There's a lot of haters, as they say. Once you start to get bigger and you start to scale your companies, you're going to start stopping wanting to associate with all these people that are basically doing the same thing. They're stuck in a rut. They're not going anywhere. They're not trying to elevate their life. They're basically being a hindrance to you. And so that's what you'll see, is you're going to have to cut off a lot of these people. A lot of these so-called friends of yours, they do not want what's best for you. They just want to sit around, party, drink, go to the same bars every week. You got to cut those people loose and say, hey, if you want to elevate with me and go to the next level or levels, then it's time to cut off all the nonsense. But you can't keep those people around you. So that's the biggest thing.
I agree 100%. I don't know if I've actually told you this, but I've been sober for maybe almost 5 months now.
Okay. Yeah.
So I cut off everything. And, I was in a state too where, everyone gets some sort of, let's call it, emotional stability or depression, to where they're feeling a little low. And I was in a really low spot. And, I kind of, realized that I was like, shit, I'm about to hit rock bottom, and I really need to grab myself before it's too late. And I cut off everything, and then the moment I became sober, everything just started to fall into place again.
Right.
And that law of attraction is serious.
Yeah.
It's crazy because when you're doing bad things will happen.
Oh, 100%.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
But then also if you're doing good things and you're stabilizing yourself to become a better person internally, everything starts to just change. And it sounds cliche.
100%.
And do you think, I know you're big on law of attraction. I see your stuff on social media. How important do you think that is?
Yeah, alcohol is a depressant for one. I mean, I see a lot of, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I still drink here and there. Yeah. I too have also stopped a lot of the partying and all that stuff that I was doing even recently. Yes, I was very good. I have a switch. I can turn it off and on whenever I want to, unlike most people. I've just been able to do that. I know I can wake up, even if I've been partying, go right into a meeting. It's just, I'm built different. And just, I'm going to find a way to win and once again refuse to lose. But a lot of people aren't built that way. They start partying, they just don't have that off switch, and they just keep going on. And I don't even want to be that kind of an influencer either. So sometimes I'll invite even people out and we'll go out for a bit with team members of mine and stuff like that. And I've even noticed that I've been a hindrance to some of my team doing that. And so I've stopped doing all that altogether. So, yeah. So sorry, I was kind of taking a detour.
You were pretty much hitting on the spot there. Essentially, being that person to where you can manifest yourself to a different tier and a different level does actually help you. First of all, cut off the wrong people, because once they don't see you as a liability or a leverage, like, oh man, I'm going out with him all the time. He's the one paying. He's the one buying.
Yeah, exactly.
drinks.
Yeah, people use you a lot, especially if you have money. They're gonna use you, and you're always your friend when you're out paying for everything. But
that was one of the things too. When you're young and you have money, things are very different, right? You're not used to having this money. My mom and dad divorced when I was 13. My mom cleaned houses. Yeah. So when you get money, sometimes it gets to your head. Right. And I think it's important for people, once they have a taste of that, to really understand what to do with it. And, if you go to these moments and experiences, those people that are there, they're just there for, the moment. They're not really there to see you succeed.
Right. Yeah, they don't care.
And then in terms of that, do you feel like you've had a lot of people kind of try to poach you, being successful, being an entrepreneur? How do you distinguish someone, I guess, from knowing they're not using you?
Just once again, I was in prison for 7.5 years. I was around nothing but con artists the whole time. So I'm very good at reading through the lines and reading through people's facades and mirages they put up. That's just one thing I'm very good at doing. At the end of the day, as the saying goes, the numbers don't lie, your actions don't lie either. So I'm gonna be able to see through all the smoke and haze and mirrors and all the other stuff pretty quickly. So I do my research on people that I do business with. And I can usually just get a vibe off you if you're someone I want to associate with and do business with or not. If I don't, we probably won't speak again. That's just how I operate. So, one big thing is being able just to cut people off, that negativity off right away. That's very key. If you don't, it'll just fester and it'll ruin your whole day. It might even ruin your whole week, depending on how big the problem is. You got to find a way just to cut it away and find a solution to beat it, and then go on to the next thing you got to get done.
And this is not just business. This could be a relationship, a wife, a girlfriend, friendendship, anything like that. It's
all the same thing. All the texting back and forth, that's just ruining and taking time away from your day. You just got to cut it off. If you are going to respond, if it's something negative, and it's somebody that I do associate with, I'm not going to respond to it probably the whole day, because I know it's just going to go on and on and on all day. I'll usually wait till my day's done, and then maybe at night, after I've showered or something, maybe respond to it, and say, hey, I don't have time for the nonsense. If we can talk in a respectful manner, then we can try to find a solution here. But I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth with you all day. It's going to ruin my day. I'm trying to be positive and optimistic, and you're trying to ruin that. So
absolutely, no, that makes perfect sense. For the viewers, I guess, listening, and anyone that wants to get to know you, is there anything else you want to say, in regards to maybe MPC or yourself? Is there a last message that you'd like to give out to them?
I like to tell everybody, if I can do it, anybody can do it. The odds were severely stacked against me. I think the recidivism rate in Wisconsin is over 80%. So that means 80% of guys that get released from prison usually come back within a year. Wow. I beat that odd for one. Number two, construction, I think the odds or the statistics are 85% don't even make it 5 years, 95 don't make it 10 years in business. It's just a very hard business. It wears you out, it burns you out. There's numerous reasons: lack of capital flow, lawsuits, just so many reasons why people don't sustain themselves in this business. And I've made it now over 11 and a half years. So if I can do it, like I said, anybody can do it. You just got to work hard, persevere, and go all in with it.
Absolutely. Well, Brother Paul, I appreciate you guys.
Hey man, good seeing you.
Yeah. For you guys tuning in, thank you so much. I'm your host, Steven Martinez. I'll see you soon.